The story begins with villagers hiding in fear as an S-rank monster terrorizes their village. In desperation, they spend all their money to hire a famous adventurer group called Dragon's Fang. Among them is a boy named Kurt, who has no combat ability. His only role is doing chores for the party. As he waits for the battle to end, the monster suddenly appears behind him and blasts him away. Bandana, the ranger, tries to restrain it with her rope, but gets slammed into a wall. Maris, the healer, heals her, and she manages to trap the monster again while their leader, Golova, finishes it off with a flaming sword. The villagers cheer and recognize Dragon's Fang as heroes. Later, while the group is eating, Golova complains about the food and demands that Kurt cook for them instead. Bandana reminds them it's Kurt's last day, and Golova coldly tells him they're kicking him out because he's useless in battle. Maris adds that a party can only have 4 members, and they plan to replace Kurt with a mage to grow stronger. Despite Kurt's pleas, Golova calls him worthless and throws him out. Now traveling on his own, Kurt quickly realizes he's running out of money. He goes to a job center where a clerk named Kursel interviews him. He explains he was fired from a hero party, and she reassures him that his experience might still help. She gives him an aptitude test, a way to reveal God-given talents. He gets excited, but his results show the lowest possible combat ranks. Kursel notes it will be tough for him to find a job, but mentions they haven't tested his non-combat skills yet. When he lifts a sandbag for a strength test, it drains his mana, but he manages to carry it. Impressed, Kursel offers him a construction job in a frontier town. The foreman initially doubts him, but hires him out of necessity. He tells Kurt to work for 3 hours and leaves. When he returns, he's stunned to find a huge section of the wall already repaired, including areas Kurt reached without ladders or scaffolds. Kurt apologizes, thinking he made a mistake. The foreman pays him and promises the rest of his wages will be sent to the job center. In just 2 days, Kurt finishes repairing the west and north walls. The foreman tells him not to return, worried that the other workers will lose their jobs if Kurt does everything himself. He suspects Kurt has a construction aptitude of SSS rank and suggests he look for better opportunities in the capital. Kurt, however, mistakenly thinks the foreman dislikes him. Back at the workstation, Kurt tells Kursel he got fired again. Just then, a girl named Ulesia is arguing with another clerk about posting a job. She wants to hire a miner, but only if her mining project succeeds. Kursel advises her to find investors instead, but Ulesia is out of time. If she doesn't pay taxes by the end of the week, the mountain will be confiscated. Kurt volunteers, saying he has mining experience. Ulesia is hesitant, thinking he looks too young and prefers hiring a dwarf, but can't afford one. She ends up accepting Kurt's help. As they leave, Kursel notes Kurt's great personality and good looks, saying women would love him. Just then, the workstation gets the transfer for Kurt's construction pay, a whopping 200 gold. Kursel is shocked. She stumbles over the sandbag and remembers it's a tool that measures mana. Since Kurt struggled to lift it, she realizes he must have enormous mana reserves, a hidden talent. At the mining camp, Kurt notices there's only one tent. Ulesia says it's big enough for both of them. Kurt tries to be respectful and tells her she's beautiful, which flusters her. During dinner, he thanks her for cooking, saying it's been a while since anyone's done that for him. That night, he discovers she's sleeping without clothes and flees the tent in a panic. Ulesia admits she was testing his character and now knows he's trustworthy. The next morning, Ulesia finds Kurt asleep outside and discovers he mended her dress overnight. Amazed, she tells him they need to earn 10 gold quickly. She doesn't know where to dig, but Kurt leads the way, splits open a rock, and finds a crystal worth 3 gold. He continues mining and gathers a pile of gems. Ulesia wants to sell them, but Kurt insists on turning them into magic crystals first. She's surprised, saying only a handful of craftsmen in the kingdom can do that, and even they need an hour per crystal. Kurt effortlessly creates one in seconds, though he believes real craftsmen must be better since he lacks the mana to maintain it that long. Ulesia heads to town to sell the crystals while Kurt stays at camp. A guard stops her, suspicious that the crystals might be foreign, but she shows him a royal crest, and he backs off. Though she no longer works for the king, She lets him assume she still does. She visits a woman named Mimiko to appraise the crystals. Mimiko examines one and is stunned. It holds 10 times the usual mana and is worth 10 gold each. Ulysia is overwhelmed when she realizes she has 50 of them. Mimiko agrees to buy the crystals for 500 gold, but urges Ulysia not to sell them elsewhere, warning that it could destabilize the kingdom. She tries to find out who made them, but Ulysia keeps Kurt's identity a secret. Mimiko attempts to assert her authority as a royal court mage, only for Ulysia to remind her that she no longer serves the royal family and thus has no power over her. Mimiko relents, but warns Ulysia to keep the crystals within the kingdom and offers to make their creator an honorary count as an incentive. Later, Ulysia visits Kerschel to ask about Kurt, but Kerschel explains that she can't reveal client information. Ulysia shows her the royal crest, compelling Kerschel to share Kurt's records. She's stunned to learn he earned 200 gold from just one construction job. Kerschel explains that he was let go for working too efficiently. Ulysia then deposits 499 gold into Kurt's account, but instructs Kerschel to keep it confidential. When Ulysia returns to camp, she finds a small cabin and is shocked to learn Kurt built it in a single night. He doesn't think much of it, saying it was common back in his hometown. Meanwhile, Galva is seen struggling in a battle, confused about why his flames aren't working. Maris tells him she's already casting healing spells, though they're weak. Their mage can't use fire magic either, and the team starts to argue. Bandana realizes the party is falling apart. Back at the camp, Ulysia tells Kurt about Mimiko's offer, but he declines, saying he doesn't want a position of power over others. He expresses his desire to keep working for Ulysia and asks if she managed to pay her taxes. She tells him she only kept 1 gold as a handling fee and deposited the rest into his account, saying he earned it. He promises to keep digging, and when she asks how he slept, he tells her he got 6 hours, thinking it was too much compared to the 4 hours he used to get with the hero's party. Later, Kurt identifies a promising mining site for Ulysia, and she finds a valuable topaz. Though she considers asking him to make it into a magic crystal, she feels guilty about using his skills for free. When she checks on him, she discovers a massive mining tunnel filled with glowing moss. Kurt tells her he only found a useless mineral called methyl, which he says isn't worth much. But Ulysia knows methyl is incredibly rare and more valuable than gold or platinum. She asks what he's really looking for, and he says orichalcum, known as the metal of the gods. She's shocked since it's believed to be nearly impossible to find, but Kurt says it's common at depths of around 7 kilometers. He casually mentions that he already dug that far in just 8 hours and even filled the shaft for safety. She's stunned when she sees the tunnel extends all the way through the mountain. After 2 days, they return to town. The tunnel connects their city to Lord Tehon's territory. Ulysia allows merchants to pass through it for a fee, using the income to pay off her taxes. While walking through the city, Kurt runs into Bandana, who reveals she left Galva's party after he caused a public disturbance and got reported to the authorities. Galva had ordered her to bring Kurt back, but instead she stole his teleportation crystal and ran. She sees soldiers looking for Galva and concludes that the hero's party has officially collapsed. Bandana decides to keep everything secret to protect Kurt. She tells him there's an atelier meister, a master artisan, who needs help at her workshop and gives him a map. Though Kurt is unsure of his abilities, she encourages him to believe in himself. We learn that ateliers are workshops that create magical tools for public use. The head of such a workshop, called the atelier meister, holds special rights for product development and distribution. Kurt finds the workshop and is greeted by an assistant named Michelle. She's happy to see him and brings him inside, but he immediately notices the foul smell. She hasn't cleaned the kitchen in 3 weeks. When her master calls her away, Kurt decides to clean it up himself and finishes the job in half an hour. He then goes looking for Michelle, but accidentally walks into a girl's room and sees her undressed, which embarrasses him. She casually tells him that the Meister is in the basement. He notices a strange mark on her body and realizes she's cursed. Her condition has dulled her pain sensors and damaged her organs. He hears her stomach rumble and, realizing she's hungry, decides to cook for her. Meanwhile, Ulysia sells the methyl and orichalcum Kurt mined. Mimiko evaluates them at an astronomical 50,000 gold. She's amazed that such materials even exist and worries what would happen if people found out about Kurt's skills. Mimiko speculates that some might even want to eliminate him. Ulicia plans to have him become an Atelier Meister, which would restrict his activities and keep him out of the public eye. She also vows to act as his bodyguard, though she knows Kurt isn't aware of how gifted he is. She wonders if he'll accept her plan. Back in the workshop, Kurt meets Michelle and the Meister, Ilia. He apologizes for using their kitchen without permission and explains he cooked for the cursed girl. Ilia realizes he saw her and asks him not to tell anyone. She pays him for the day and lets him go. She knows she made a mistake. Outsiders weren't supposed to see the girl. When she gives the food to the cursed girl, she's about to test it for poison, but the girl stops her, saying she trusts Kurt. She eats it and says it tastes amazing, but then something begins to happen to her. Alia initially suspects the food is poisoned, but the cursed girl reassures her it's not, revealing that not only is she fine, but the food actually cured her. They're both stunned to see the curse mark vanish. Meanwhile, the man responsible for the curse senses it's been broken and wants to reapply it, but his superior insists the girl must die immediately. Ilia then visits Mimiko's shop to discuss something serious. Mimiko assures her that Ulicia can be trusted. Ilia introduces herself and brings in the cured girl. Both Mimiko and Ulicia are shocked when they recognize her as Princess Lisette, the third princess. Ilia explains that Lisette had been cursed, likely targeted because she's the only child of the king and the Guramak Empire's princess, making her a symbol of peace between the two kingdoms. Her death would devastate relations. Mimiko is relieved she's safe and vows to help find the culprit, though she's curious how such a powerful curse was broken. Lisette explains that it was Kurt who saved her, leaving Mimiko and Ulicia speechless. Mimiko quickly compiles a list of suspects. First is General Sinova, second is Bishop Tristan, and third is Queen Dora, Lisetta's stepmother. Lisetta believes Dora disabled the palace's anti-curse wards to help the assassin, but Ulicia and Ilia point out the other suspects also had access to the palace. Ilia mentions Lisetta has just turned 15 and must now leave the palace for a year of training. They decide to establish a new atelier for this purpose, needing a low-profile but capable Meister to oversee it. Ulicia shows them one of Kurt's magic crystals, and Ilia is stunned by its extraordinary quality. Meanwhile, Kurt returns to the workshop only to find it closed, as Ilia left the day before. Feeling rejected, he heads to a restaurant where he overhears adventurers discussing a quest. Noticing their lack of a porter, he volunteers, admitting he's terrible at combat but can carry gear. One member doubts his usefulness, but her brother scolds her. The party is hunting iron golems, which weigh over 200 kilograms. Kurt offers to prove his strength and effortlessly lifts both the leader and the heavy warrior, impressing everyone. The party, named Sakura, consists of Kanz, the brawler, Danzo, a samurai leader, and Sina, a ranger. They welcome Kurt, who's grateful for the chance. Inside a cave, Kurt is caught by a slime. Sina instructs him to destroy its core, but he fumbles and stabs himself instead. Sina handles it and laughs off his poor combat skills, assuring him they'll do the fighting. Sina uses luminous moss to light their path, and they spot fresh goblin droppings, meaning goblins are nearby. They press on but soon get ambushed. Danzo kills the first goblin, but a horde swarms from both sides. Kurt finds a hidden passage and leads Sina through it, but she seals the door behind them, leaving Kanz and Danzo outside. Kurt protests, but Sina insists they'd never escape otherwise, and the others chose to fight so they could survive. She urges him to take care of her, while Kanz declares it an honor to protect his sister. Danzo also says he's ready to die for his friends. Sina tries to stay strong, but she panics upon seeing an iron dragon golem ahead, blocking their way. Meanwhile, Ulicia leads Lisette to Kurt's inn, advising her to keep her identity secret. Lisette decides to pose as a regular girl. They find he's not there, but Bandana tells them where he went before vanishing. Suspecting a trap, Ulicia still heads to the cave. Lisette insists on coming, saying she can protect herself with magic. In the cave, Lisette uses scent-enhanced magic to track Kurt, surprising Eulesia, who didn't think that was possible without close contact. They soon hear fighting, and Eulesia charges ahead after receiving a buff from Lisette that boosts her strength. Back in the cave, Danzo and Cans fight bravely but are overwhelmed. Eulesia arrives just in time and cuts down goblins to help. Meanwhile, Sina despairs, thinking their friends have died for nothing. She warns Kurt not to approach the golem, convinced he'll die. But Kurt surprises her by dodging its attacks and striking its weak points, disassembling it completely. Sina is stunned and asks how he did it. Kurt casually explains that he's used to mining iron golems. Eulesia bursts in and demands to know what happened. Sina tells her Kurt mined the golem. He's happy to see Eulesia and urges her to check on the others. She confirms they're injured but safe. Remembering a legend about a man with no combat talent but an S-rank aptitude for mining who once defeated a briar dragon with only a sickle, she begins to wonder if Kurt is that man. Lisette tells Kurt he's incredible. Danzo and Cans thank Eulesia for rescuing them and explain how they ended up in the situation. Before they leave, Eulesia announces an important decision. They will establish a new Itelia, and she will serve as its head adventurer. Eulesia invites Kurt to join her, but he explains that he's still working with the Sakura party. The others tell him not to worry about them and encourage him to accept her offer. Eulesia mentions that the new Itelia will need capable people, so she asks if they'd be willing to work there. They agree. She then tells Kurt that he should have his aptitude tested once they return, which excites him. Later, at the workshop, Mimiko introduces herself to Kurt and says she'll be assessing his abilities. She also admits that she was intrigued by the magical crystal he created and wanted to meet him in person. That evening, Kurt celebrates with the Sakura party, while Mimiko and Eulesia discuss his test results. Although Mimiko told Kurt his skills are mostly ranked B and C, the truth is he actually has triple S rank abilities and more mana than Mimiko herself. Eulesia suggests that Kurt should become their Itelia Meister. Mimiko feels lucky to have been the one to test him and warns that revealing his true stats could cause chaos. Just then, Kursel overhears them but pretends she didn't hear anything.